Welcome to Orthodontic Smiles, the podcast designed for all dentists and their staffs who practice orthodontics. This podcast is brought to you by the American Orthodontic Society. The written word has always legitimized and validated our ideas and actions. So being able to have a forum for general dentists and pediatric dentists to show their orthodontic work and competence is of great importance to us all. Why is writing so powerful? As one scholar has explained it, writing codifies speaking, thus turning words into objects of conscious reflection. In other words, every major accomplishment our species has made has been powered by writing. Because writing gives our brains the code to organize ideas and create systems for advancement. And the Journal of the American Orthodontic Society is dedicated to the advancement of our members through the written word provided by the publication. So Orthodontic Smiles today will take a few minutes to recognize the man behind the editing and the publication that has won so many awards. Our guest on Orthodontic Smiles podcast today is the editor of the Journal of the American Orthodontic Society, Dr. Greg Cannizzo. Well, thank you, Dr. Greg Cannizzo, for being on Orthodontic Smiles podcast. Everyone asked me this. You yourself asked me, you said, well, why would you want me to be on Orthodontic Smiles podcast? Well, you are a very important part of the American Orthodontic Society, and you have been a part of that Orthodontic Society's editor for the past 15 years. How did that all get started, Greg?
Actually, after I finished dental school in 1987, I was looking to continue trying to find courses involving how to do orthodontics as a general dentist. Like a lot of people probably had as far as with their ortho coverage in dental school, there wasn't really a lot. And so when I got out of school, I went to a couple Chicago Dental Society meetings, and basically they'd bring you in, show you a bunch of removable appliances. And there was one course I was at actually that the doctor was going through and saying, oh, this is a Jose 4 and this is a Jose 3. And someone asked him, well, what do you mean a Jose 4? And he's like, oh, that's my dental technician. And, if you need to do anything, just send it to my office and we'll do it. So, actually 3/4 of the people, we all stood up and just walked out of the room. So it was courses like that I was running into until in early 1990, I took a course taught by one of the founding doctors of the American Orthodontic Society, and that was Dr. Charlie Yates. And during that course, I learned how to do ortho, as well as the importance of knowing how to incorporate it into a general practice. And I realized that you really could not actually even truly call yourself a cosmetic dentist, too, without knowing how to do orthodontics, because it's important to have the teeth in the proper place when you're even looking to do cosmetic work. And in addition, I learned that there were a number of organizations at that time that taught general dentists and pediatric dentists the importance of orthodontics to their practice and how to perform it at a high level. So during the middle 1990s, I wanted to start looking into putting together a journal that could bring together all general dentists and pediatric dentists who do ortho so that they could share their cases and their techniques and read articles and showing the importance of ortho to their patients and their practices.
Greg, did you have any experience in writing or editorial experience? at the time?
Actually, no, actually not a lot. I mean, most of my, I would say writing-wise came, I guess I'd say my dad was a journalist.
Oh, well, there you go.
So,
It's in the blood.
right, right. So growing up, it was always there in front of us as far as, with writing and stuff like that. And actually, in my undergrad, I was a history minor too. So that made a little difference because when you take exams in a history course, everything's written, and it's not just multiple choice.
Essay.
So it's big.
Essay.
It's essay exams,
Yeah.
right? That you go with there too. So I had that. I guess that helped some as far as with the background. But so I continued to look into starting a journal in the late 90s, and I ran into roadblocks because I was trying to find affordable printing and decent publishing groups to work with, and it was more of a job than I realized. Then in 2000,
Were you doing it for some organization at the time, or were you trying to do it for some organization at the time?
I was looking to do it as far as part of with the Academy of GP Orthodontics.
Ah, okay.
As far as then too, but then in 2000, I was presented with the chance to work with AOS as the co-editor on the journal with AGPO, with the journal that AOS was looking to start. And that was exactly what I was looking for. It was a world-class journal dedicated to teaching GPs and pedodontists about making ortho part of what they offer to their patients. And at that time when we started, Dr. Roger Rupp, he was the senior editor of the journal, and until his sudden passing in 2004. And then at that time, I was asked to become editor, and I've held the position, the head editor, and I've held the position ever since then.
And you've done a great job. Roger Rupp was he was the secretary treasurer of the American Orthodontic Society for years. There's only been 3 secretary treasurers in all the years that the American Orthodontic Society has been in existence, and I'm proud to be the one that's still around and acting as secretary treasurer. So, but Roger was really good at being an editor and starting this whole thing off, because it was a challenge, as I remember, getting the journal going. It was expensive too, very expensive. Right. Back then.
Right, but we found great people that we've always worked with. I'm proud of all the work that we've done to make the journal of the American Orthodontic Society a premier dental publication, and not just one of these throwaway magazines that people have. And we've always worked to have the journal on the cutting edge of what was happening in dentistry. And that's, I say, if you go back into our archives, which are even online, you'll see that we've had articles and topics such as like early treatment, TADS, airway disorders, tongue ties, myofacial therapy, and functional therapy, and before any of these other topics began to pop up in other journals that you'd see in dentistry.
Yeah, we always were the leading edge, especially in early treatment. Early treatment orthodontics, we definitely were the leading journal that started to broadcast the needs of these children in pediatric practices and in general practices. Well, tell me a little bit about, as an editor, tell me what the job of an editor is. And I think our listeners may not really understand the importance and what you do as an editor. So kind of walk us through from the time that someone would submit an article and the kinds of things that you're looking for, so it makes it easy for you.
No, sure. Usually I'm looking for case studies are great, articles on different, not just on ortho, but also on things involved with general dentistry, pediatric dentistry, right? Practice management, all of that. I'm looking for an article that's interesting, something that other people can relate to. And it doesn't have to be, like I've told people before, they're like, oh, I really think that this is just something that's really too simple. And I explain to them that, with a group our size, you have people that are all different levels, so everybody's going to appreciate it. And then sometimes someone might look at something and say, oh, why didn't I think of that? So a pearl that somebody might have that they publish, they might say, oh, I'm worried that this is just something that's just too simple, but it can ring for, home for someone else too, something that they can take back to their office on Monday and use that they hadn't thought of before. But usually someone will send me an article. I'll sit down and go through it, look through it. And then it would get sent off to peer review if needed, and looked at and then sent back to me. I go through it and correct the grammar, we go through and check all the photos that they're at the proper level that we need as well too, charts that everything's together. Once we get the article together, then I'll send it off to our publisher, Wright Publishing. We've been using them for a number of years. Lisa Wright and Zach at their office, which is actually right down there in Florida, are fantastic. And they'll come back with a layout, and then I'll go through it, and then I'll send that proof off to the doctor or whoever the author is who put together the article. And we'll go through and check and make sure that the photos are where they actually wanted them and everything is proper. Sometimes things get twisted or turned, a photo gets knocked upside down, but we've gotten pretty good over the years keeping all that together. And then we go back and it goes back to the publisher again. And once we're happy with it, everything gets laid out for the journal. And then we're also working with advertising people to go in and supplement the journal as well too. So,
well, that's a big part of it, because it's such an expensive endeavor to put out a journal and have it be the quality that we have, that the advertisers are looking forward actually to the journal coming out in a written form. That's a very big means of advertising for them.
No, exactly.
Well, let me ask you one other question. We have an editorial board. Is that where you get your peer review from, the editorial board of the journal?
Yes, it is. The people who are on our editorial board.
So if it's something that has to do with pediatric dentistry, then you'll send it to someone who's a pediatric dentist, or if how do you qualify which person gets to review, or do several?
No, that's it. Yeah, that's exactly. If it's a pediatric article, then I'll look to send it out to one of the doctors who's pediatric. There are also people on the board who I know, like if there's an article on TADS, I'll send it out to someone who's done numerous. I know in the organization and on the board has done numerous TADS and actually also published a number of articles on it. So I'll talk to them if it's on an implant. I know that there's a number of doctors on our board who've done extensive work with implants, and I'll bounce it off to them. So even just people in our organization, there's a number of them on the board who have done extensive work. If there's an article that comes out on sleep apnea, we have people on the board who've done extensive work on that and put articles together in the past. So those are really the people I work with, the people who are part of our organization who've gone above and beyond on different topics.
I think one of the great things that you're doing, as a suggestion from you, was to become a diplomate of the American Orthodontic Society. You have to present your cases to the Board of Diplomates, examiners, and to actually get your certificate as a diplomate, you have to submit one of the cases that you presented to the journal. And
Right.
we've seen some beautiful, beautiful orthodontic cases that the diplomates have presented. And I think what that does is it shows the quality of the work that's being done by our diplomates, and as well as I think it's an incentive for other people too.
Right. It is. It's a very nice way to go through and showcase just how great the work that our people put together, and what they have to offer and what they've learned through working with AOS, the courses, and working through peer review. Because as I a lot of times talk in my editorials about it, I mean, it's important. You become a better doctor just by putting these cases together and going through it. You become a better doctor by going through and reading through and seeing what other people have put together as well.
Yeah, your editorials are very encouraging. I gotta admit that. That's one of the first things I read. Greg, the journal has gone through several different ways of it being presented. We pretty much were in print completely, and then we went to electronic version of the journal, and now we're going back, it seems, to the print. What's the reason for that?
Well, we did start out. Well, everybody used to start out with print. We were actually one of the first journals that came out digital-wise as well too. I have a group we get together, the American Academy of Dental Journalists and Editors, and when we first came out with our electronic journal, we were one of the only people who had one, and now there's a few more. So we wanted to use it to supplement the written one, and then we, like you mentioned, we went to just the digital one, but we found that a lot of people still prefer to have something written and in front of them, and and from even what we're reading and when we get together and talk as editors together, there's more and more even that millennials are even starting to still wanting to go back to having the written word out in front of them. I mean, I know a lot of times, like my kids will make joke around with me that I still like to have the newspaper sitting in front of me, folded in front of me, rather in a computer screen. But sometimes having it right there in front of you and sitting in front of you and the written word, it's really important for you.
Well, one of the things I think that's important is when there's almost 100 countries, there are dentists in over 100 countries listening to Orthodontic Smiles podcast, and they're probably wondering how they can get a copy of the journal, because it is one unbelievably beautiful journal, number one, and very informative to everyday life in a dental practice doing orthodontics. So I would think that they would contact the American Orthodontic Society and become members of the American Orthodontic Society, which would give them the opportunity to, if they can't get the journal in hand, they could get online and get it. Am I right?
Right.
Because we do offer it in an electronic form, but yet it's protected, and you have to be a member of the American Orthodontic Society to get that, even the electronic form.
Right. And we've had a lot of people in the past ask and wanting to get in and read through it and enjoyed it as well too.
Well, I personally don't know the idiosyncrasies of how that works within the administration of the American Orthodontic Society, but I would just encourage anybody that would be interested in being a member and have the ability to get the Journal of the American Orthodontic Society, which is coming out now, 4 times a year or 3?
4 times.
4 times a year. And they could get hold of the American Orthodontic Society by contacting them at www.orthodontics.com. Orthodontics.com. That's the journal site. That's the American Orthodontic Society's site, and they can contact the executive director, Tom Chapman, and I'm sure that they could be very helpful in in helping anyone that would like to see a copy of the journal or any of the articles that might be in the journal. So that's about I think that's a good start. It's a good way to get people maybe interested in not only the organization, but to see the kind of quality that the journal puts out. And I think that's probably because you're a certified dental editor of the American Association of Dental Editors and Journalists. So you're up there with not too many people that are qualified to be editors of dental journals. So congratulations to you. And what most people don't realize is not only have you been doing this for 15 years and done such a magnificent job, you also publish articles yourself in international journals. And I'm sure the most proudest thing is that you received from the American Orthodontic Society the Roger Rupp Journalism Award, which is something that the American Orthodontic Society felt to honor Roger Rupp because he started it, and to honor you because you've continued it.
Yeah. No, it was a great honor. We give the award out to individuals that we feel have made a great contribution to journalism and to our journal, and with journalism and articles they've published, work they've done with it. And no, that was a great honor when I received that. Thank you.
When they actually send a journal to you, you basically, it goes through the American Orthodontic Society. So someone in another country can submit articles to the American Orthodontic Society. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah,
I see them periodically. We see them from different countries coming in.
Yes,
and they're done very well. Some of them are very interesting articles.
Yes, we had out in the past. We had some research articles that came from out in some members that were actually from out in Dubai, and I think Saudi Arabia. So no, we've had articles that come from across the U.S., Puerto Rico, and out.
They don't have to be members. They don't have to be members of the American Orthodontic Society to submit an article.
No, not at all. We've had a number of authors who've sent articles in.
And how would they go about doing that? Would they send it directly to the AOS office, the American Orthodontic Society office, or where would it go?
Yeah, that works. Usually then it would go to the main office, and then Barbara at the main office would forward it over to me. I've had a number of doctors who've just gotten in touch with me because they've seen the journal, and then they get my email address and just connect with me that way.
And you've had the chance to be able to see the number of countries that have looked at our journal when it was on electronics, when it was open for electronic viewing, and they came from all over the world, didn't they? There's a lot of people out there that are interested in our journal.
Right. There were quite a number from Russia, Ireland, Mexico, South America. Well, it was in South America, Chile, Argentina, Brazil. So no, it was amazing the number of people who, with the electronic journal, are able to get in and look and see a part of what our society is all about and what we have here and what we're presenting to people.
Well, it surprises me. I mean, we've been doing you're going to be the 13th episode of Orthodontic Smiles podcast, and we're now just about at almost 100 countries all over the world where one or more people are listening to Orthodontic Smiles. I mean, it's amazing. Mongolia and China and Latvia and just about every place in the world. There's some dentist out there that's got a yearning to hear about orthodontics so that they can do it in their practice. And I'm glad that Orthodontic Smiles and our journal are out there trying to educate them and help them in any way we can.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Like I said,
any new plans for the future, Greg, for the journal?
Did a revamp with the logo on the journal.
Yeah,
but
I just saw that. That looks beautiful. That was really a nice change. That was started back in In 2001, we tried to start or change the logo of the association, and for one reason or another, it never got changed. But I think it was quite dated, and it needed a change. And I think the one we have now is just beautiful. That is very, very modern, very very classy looking logo we have for the whole organization.
Yeah, but now with the journal, I mean, right now we didn't have anything sitting out there as far as changes. It's like I said, just the journal and the written word itself. I think, like I said, I when we talked once before, ideas, they become more concrete to people. Like I said, when they're written down, and I mean, there's examples of that, all through history. Like I said, when Martin Luther became upset with some of the teachings and practices of the Roman Catholic Church in 1517, he wrote up his 95 Thesis, and he nailed it to the door of the Wittenberg Church. It was just so much more when it was written and just put out there. And I say the same thing with the American colonies when they became upset with practices and treatment of the English king in 1776. They had Thomas Jefferson sit down and write the Declaration of Independence. So it just having the written word and having
and it
our
lives
journal
on forever. It lives on forever.
Right. Having our journal.
And nowadays it's going to live on electronically as well as in paper form. So it's going to be the American Orthodontic Society and its contributors are going to be around and teaching for a long, long time. Greg, I want to thank you so much for being on Orthodontic Smiles podcast. This is, I think it was very worthwhile listening to you as the editor, someone who works behind the scenes and does such a great job and has done it so willingly. And you're one of the unsung heroes of the American Orthodontic Society, and I want to thank you for being on the broadcast and telling us a little bit about the journal. It's
thank
been
you.
Fun.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This journal is dedicated to the advancement of our members, and I've enjoyed it the whole 15 years I've been here and still do today.
Well, that's great. I hope you have another 15 years in you.
All right. So thank you.
Okay. Sure like to thank Dr. Cannizzo for being on our show today. He's quite the editor and puts out one beautiful journal every time it comes out. But on behalf of Orthodontic Smiles and the American Orthodontic Society, I'd like to thank all of the participants that have helped make Orthodontic Smiles a roaring success. We're now in almost 100 countries throughout the world and looking forward to much more success and many, many more podcasts. I will be in Kauai, Hawaii for the Memorial Day weekend. It just so happens that the American Academy of Pediatric Dentists and the American Orthodontic Society are putting on a joint symposium on early orthodontic treatment. Excellent techniques for excellent patient results. This program will provide a unique overview of how the pediatric dentist can provide early treatment orthodontics in a safe, simple, and beneficial manner. This symposium will be taught entirely by pediatric dentists who have over a century of cumulative orthodontic experience. Every aspect of treatment will be discussed, including diagnosis, minor tooth movement, crowded arches in the primary and transitional dentition, early Class 2 and Class 3 correction, with an emphasis on facial aesthetics. The pediatric dentist is the expert in facial growth and development, which uniquely positions them to learn and practice early treatment orthodontics. So we hope you will join us, along with Dr. Leonard Carapeza, Dr. Elsa Echeverria, and myself, in Hawaii, Kauai, at the Grand Hyatt Kauai Resort and Spa. That's on May 29th. It's designed to be the day after the American Academy of Pediatric Dentists closes their annual meeting in Honolulu and gives all its participants a chance to fly to another island, since we're all the way out there in the middle of the Pacific. So come and join us, and we'll be looking forward to a great symposium. This is your host, Dr. Ed Gonzalez. I want to thank you for listening to Orthodontic Smiles today. If you enjoyed our broadcast, please click the subscribe button. We'll be in touch with you in the future about our further broadcasts. Thanks for listening.